So this video is a result of the decluttering of my decks, and when I decluttered my decks, there were some decks that I wasn't ready to get rid of because they could be repurposed. And there were some decks, or they could have. I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready to give them up because I love them, but I don't use them for the reason that, like, there's one that I love, but I don't use for a reason that I'll explain in this video. And there's one that I used that I had already given it a different job than just being for readings, and it needed a little facelift. So let me begin. I love using tarot cards for magic. I use tarot cards for magical work. I've done this. I used to use playing cards for magical work, and I still use playing cards for magical work because playing cards, nobody looks at them twice. You know what I mean? It's like a random three of hearts shows up somewhere. Nobody thinks twice. They think someone fell out of somebody's pocket, whatever. It's like, you know, that kind of thing, right? So just like if you have like playing cards in your purse, nobody thinks twice about it. It's like they just figure that, you might be stuck somewhere and you'd rather play solitaire with a deck of cards than your phone. So I'm going to share with you three decks that I recently modified, and one I just received that I purchased. So the first deck I'm going to share with you is the Tarot of the Secret Forest by Los Carabeo. This is the one that is in color on one side and black and white on the other. And as you could see, I trimmed it completely, and I'll tell you why. Because with the black borders, oh my god, people, I'm going to talk about my vision again. With the black borders, I couldn't see these images because they're all very dark and murky. Look at this. And I say this with love because I love me some dark and murky. Okay, see, like they don't even look murky on camera, but neither do I, and I'm pretty sure I look a little murky in real life. I'm tired, people. But anyway. So this was a deck I've tried to this is a deck that I've culled from my collection twice, put it in the giveaway box, and then retrieved it back. Because there's something about this artwork that I find incredibly compelling. I lose myself in these paintings. I lose myself in the actual painting by studying the fact that these are definitely oil paintings, and in some of them you see it more than in others, and I find that absolutely fascinating because, like I've said in the past, Los Carabeo, you name a subject, they have a tarot deck for it. I think this is by Lucia Mattioli. I hope it is, because I had the box up for like a couple of years already. I had these cards in there. They were edged in black. Whenever I pulled them out, I would look at them and I'd get lost in the imagery. But it's not a deck I could read as a tarot. And I could not bring myself to having them leave, because I love these images. So I spent last evening and this morning trimming the borders off completely. And as you see, some of them at the bottom you could still see, like that with the symbols from the suits. That's cups. I don't care. A different me would have cared. But this was the easiest way to do it with scissors. They turned out really pretty even compared, considering that I did them with scissors and no measurements and some really poor lighting too, not gonna lie, in the evening. And I figure now that they're completely no longer a tarot, they're just a deck of fairies with the black and white on one side and the painting on the other. Now that they're just these beautiful, these compelling images, some of these really, really draw me in. Others not so much, but that's like any other deck, right? These I'm going to use to communicate with these earth spirits, because I find that they communicate with me quite clearly through these cards. So, and if they don't, well, they're cute and I enjoy them, and they're not bothering anybody, so they stay. The next deck, I have an intact copy of the Wildwood that is just edged in mossy green situation or whatever. This is one that I received as a gift. It was gifted to me, and it already came trimmed and edged. And all I did to it recently was I re-rounded the corners to a larger. I couldn't put my finger on it, but it just wasn't. There was something missing. There was something. It just didn't. Aesthetically, it didn't connect. And then I think I saw someone else's video where this is one of their decks that they use, because of course I'm watching videos of people who have the same decks that I enjoy using, of course. And I saw that theirs was trimmed the exact same way, but it looked finished. Well, I pulled out my corner rounder, made large corners, and because I didn't have a matching marker, I have a little gradient weird thing going on. But so I prefer the intact one for reading. This one I use for magic. This one I use for magic, for meditation, for when I want to work with the spirits that come through with this deck. This is a very earthy deck. This is a deck that it puts you in that liminal space between worlds. Love it. And the last deck I modified. This is the last deck I modified, and then I'm gonna. Oh look, this is the little title card or whatever that came with my Secret Forest. I trimmed that too. It's adorable. I'm gonna use it for something. I like that it's a stairs, like a staircase or like a stone stairs up to somewhere. I think it's beautiful symbolically. The next deck, I had this for a while. This is the original Rider-Waite. The one with the Ouroboros on the box, the one with these backs. I love these backs. I think these are my favorite backs. Actually, if you take the blue and white lily back like this, if you without the white border, is my favorite. Absolute favorite. So that's why I bought this deck. Also, I think sorry people, I think, trying to remember, at the time that I bought this one, it was the only one that had these sepia tones, and it's mass market. It was $20 Canadian, which is like free US. Kidding. $20 Canadian is like for $15 US. Anyway, at first I had trimmed the white borders off and kept it like that, but it looked, and I use this one for magic as well. For tarot magic, individual cards or groupings of cards as amulets and stuff like that, and basically the recipe of what it is I'm trying to manifest. But they looked I had the titles on them and they just looked off balance to me. So I figured, in for a penny, and they were edged with antique linen and the whole thing. My antique linen stamp is long dry and dead in the garbage somewhere in a landfill. Oh my God, terrible, I know. But I was going to just recycle these because there was something aesthetically that just wasn't pleasing to me. And then I thought, you know what? Let me give this a try because they were already uneven because these, for whatever reason, were printed with the white borders, but each card is like slightly a different size. So they were all over the place in terms of sizing. But what I did was no guillotine, just scissors. Trim the titles off. I tried to match them close in size, and I love them. The majors have the Roman numerals because they have the titles on the bottom with the Roman numerals at the top. So that's pretty cool that I have the Roman numerals on the majors. But the minors, the titles are gone. Oops. And I just love the way this looks. Now, I'm fluent in several languages, so I'm just thinking, like, if ever the day came back where I'm doing in-person readings for people, then this would really come in handy. Like if I were to move back to Quebec and was reading at a metaphysical shop where Bill 101 says I have to be speaking French and everything has to be in French. These are like hieroglyphics, people, which is how we used to get away with it in Quebec when I was there. These are without words, perfectly sanctioned. I love them now. This was a deck that was like, I was using it for magic, right? And I didn't like the way it looked. I didn't like the way it felt because it was really uneven. But I really didn't like the way it looked. And now I just love the way it looks. And what I did was I edged it in this brownish color. It's brownish. Not brown, brownish. And oh my God, I can't stop using this deck since I did this. And this is this is the worst of all my, like I kept 3 Rider-Waite decks only. My Centennial, which is my favorite. My Hoi Polloi, which is, I love it. My other favorite. And this one with the really, oh my God, seriously, look at this printing of this. It's shit. And this one. These are the Rider-Waite Smith decks I've kept. I don't think I'll be purchasing any more. I'm happy with what I got. And this card stock, this US Games card stock, this man is like crazy because these bang around in my bag all the time, in my purse. I'm constantly like taking one card. I had one card out for months, the Ace of Swords. And the Ace of Swords was tucked into my ID badge for work. Now I have a copy of it, like, photocopy of it. I probably already passed the Ace of Swords. But it was in my ID badge for months and months and months. And the card doesn't look any different or any more worn than the rest of the deck. So this is some... If there was a nuclear blast, these US game systems, this card stock would still remain. So for magic, I love using tarot for magic. And then this year, with my discovery of Thoth, I thought, Thoth cards have all that symbolism in the card, especially the astrology symbolism. I thought, I need a Thoth deck for magic. I don't want to use my greenie. Like I use my greenie at home. And if you're out there and you're pining for a greenie, I'm telling you, just troll eBay, because occasionally you'll find one like I did, which no box, no, like, I didn't have a box. And because when it doesn't have a box, you end up paying a lot less for it, is what I'm trying to say. So if you don't need the box, which honestly you don't, unless you need the box, keep an eye out. Put it out to the universe. The greenie will come to you, because I didn't pay a fortune for mine. And if you know anything about me, or if you know me by now, you know that for me the top end for a tarot deck is pretty low. Anyway, so I was talking to a friend and I said, I was wondering if there was such a thing as a smaller thoth, because I was going to buy just so the original plan was for magic. I was going to buy the original tarot size thoth and then trim it down to just the imagery. And that's what I was going to do. But I was speaking to my friend, and she said, no, there's such a thing as a bridge size one. Well, I think these are a little bit smaller than bridge size. I went to Amazon and I found one, and it's called Pocket Swiss Tarot Deck. And it is like, these are now pretty much bridge size. So, look how freaking cute, people. Look at that. Look at how cute this is. Now, I have to say, just like this is a shit printing of RWS, which is why I love my Centennial, and that will always be my favorite. I don't even like I thought I would, but I didn't like the vectorized Siren Imports one. It there's something, I don't know, I found it was flat. I don't even know how to describe it. Seemed fake. It did that same thing to me that the New Mythic Tarot with Caselli's art compared to the original by Trisha Newell, right? It was just very flat, the vectorized one. But anyway, I digress. Let's talk about this. I love my Thoth Greenie. It has vintage cardstock. It has that energy. It has that occult, metaphysical energy that only things from that time, and when I say that time, it's like, the 80s, because I think mine is from 1983. But those things from the 60s, 70s, 80s have a strong metaphysical energy feel to them, because they weren't available at, mainstream bookstores. They were available at metaphysical shops, and metaphysical people own metaphysical shops, and yada yada yada, and all that. So my greenie has that energy. I recommend to you, if you're looking for a Thoth tarot deck and you want to be able to actually see the images, because the greenie, I got to tell you, it's pretty muddled. It's like really everything has a green cast. Nothing is the right color because of the green cast, and they're little what's the word? They're hard to, you can't. It's not, the images aren't crisp. I have the current U.S. Games distributes it. It's the one in the green box, and it's the big Thoth, and that one, the colors are clear. The images are sharp, beautiful. Well, this guy is the same, also printed in Belgium, like that one. And at first, when I was going to get myself a regular tarot sized one, look at these images. Oh my God. Now, I prefer my large US Games one for studying, to be able to see everything in here, but these are clear, people. These are $22 Canadian. Adorable. Absolutely adorable. It has It has the backs I don't like, where the backs are squished, so that circle looks a little. It's not a real circle. It's a little oblong. It's a little oval. Um, and it has these white borders on the back, which I find cheapens it and makes it look like, playing cards. And that's my beef with the white borders on the back of cards, like tarot cards, is that they're not playing cards. Why do they look like playing cards? But anyway, look at this. The images are clear. The colors are clear. The images are sharp. And I can't wait to use this for magic. Oh my goodness. Absolutely. And beautiful cardstock. It's this cardstock is different. This one's thicker. I don't know if you can hear it. The Belgian cardstock is a little thinner, more flexible. Even for little cards. You know what I mean? Like, usually the smaller the card, like the smaller you trim a card, the less flexible it becomes. These are small cards and they're very flexible. Oh, look at the colors here. I love the contrasting colors in this deck. I think what really appeals to me the most visually about the Thoth is, for instance, the Lust card, where you have gold and purple, and yellow and purple are opposites on the color wheel, right? It's like purple's made of, blue and red, and the gold is made from yellow with a little bit of red, and I just love that. And there's a lot of that in this deck that now I can't find to show you. And then there's a lot of complementary colors like this, where it's just gorgeous. Anyway, I thought I wouldn't like the little one for reading, that I would just use it for magic. But the more I look at them, and I thought, oh, I need the larger one to see. No, these are clear, clear, clear. Since I just recently did a video on like spiritual addiction and purging decks and all this stuff, and why I buy them and how I get sucked in and all this stuff, I want to preface this by saying, if you're already wanting to learn Thoth, but you're not sure, this is a really inexpensive way to try it out. They're beautiful, they're clear, they're sharp, and they're inexpensive. And this is the Pocket Swiss Tarot deck. The Thoth Pocket Swiss, US Games. And, yeah. So, very cute. All right. So, these are examples of, this is my Rider-Waite that I use for magic, or as the deck I keep in my bag because it's freaking indestructible. And I just love it now without the titles. They're just picture cards, and if people know what they are, there it is. If people know what they are, they'll recognize them, and if people don't, well, there's no titles. There's nothing for them to read and then look at you quizzically. How sometimes just rerounding corners can breathe new life into a deck that you love. And I can't find the card now that I want to show it to you, and how it's okay. Oh, and sometimes if a card cracks, because these crack, I think they're quite brittle, or it's hot and dry where I live. It's okay to put a piece of Scotch tape and continue loving them. It's okay if you're one of those people who loves your cards and uses them. It's okay if you're one of those people that need to keep them pristine because that's how you are. I tend to have a light hand. I have books that I've reread. I read a book, I don't even crack the spine. It looks like nobody touched it. I have cards that, unless I've modified them, look brand new, even though I've used them for years and years and years. And then I have cards that look like they got beat up. So I don't know. Maybe it's the quality of the cardstock. I don't know what it is. I know, now I'm rambling. So just wanted to share with you that sometimes I don't use decks just for reading. Sometimes they end up serving other purposes, like for magic, for meditation, for traveling to other worlds, or or communicating with different beings and different spirits. And I think I'm going to talk about that. I have another video that's coming up where about different spiritual paths, and how for me, like in my spiritual I have two main and equally important paths in my life, and there's no conflict because of, and this is all coming from some comments I've read on my YouTube channel, or like messages that I receive from people where I think they're expending too much energy trying to figure out what my spiritual path is instead of figuring out what theirs is. Because for me, my saints and my earth-based spirituality, there's no conflict. All right, so that's a teaser for my next video. Thank you so much for tuning in. And before I go, I want to see if I could quickly find some of my favorites. I love this. This was the Six of Swords. Here you can really see that it's an oil painting. Yeah, you can see the tiny little sword handle on the bottom. Don't care. This was the Star, and it's still recognizable to me. Love that one. And let me see if there's one more that I want to share. Oh yeah, this one's absolutely beautiful. I can't remember what it is, and it doesn't matter. All right. Thank you so much for spending some time with me today. And I'll see you in the next video. Take care.